Hello, once again. I want to talk to you about the housing bill that just passed Washington and why my plan would have saved us hundreds of billions and billions of dollars, period. Let me talk about the plan in general. Washington just passed a bill that have been dragging their feet for since the beginning of the year. We've lost right now over 1.7 million homes while Washington dragged their feet. Complicit in it is my opponent, Mr. Coleman, who offered little to nothing in regards to a serious plan that would have helped people immediately. My plan would have saved millions of homes if enacted. The plan that was passed and my opponent has supported, he actually rubber stamped it. He's been rubber stamping bills for years coming out of Washington, coming out of Mr. Bush's White House. My plan, the Stanton plan to save homes, is quite different from the plan that Mr. Coleman supported. It puts us on the hook for trillions of dollars. Let me articulate why. Unbeknownst to many, but it's in the bill, they raised our debt ceiling to $10.6 trillion, or by amount of $800 billion. This is not monopoly money. This is not money that you give your kids to play with and throw around and they can tear it up, throw it away, whatever. But that's what Washington is acting like. Kids in Washington with money, they have no concept of who actually is paying the bill. And that's we the people, you and me. We pay the bill, or the bills, I should say, in Washington. But unfortunately, Washington acts like, hey, it's monopoly money. It's kids' money. It's play money. Let's play with it. And that's what they're doing, literally, with this bill. Case in point, as I said, $800 billion. They raised the national debt ceiling to. So now we're on the hook to the tune of $10.6 trillion. National debt. National debt. Along with this, now we have a projected federal debt, federal budget, meaning that we're going to take in revenues but fall short of almost $500 billion. $482 billion is the projected deficit for 2009. Projected deficit. Along with this bill, and this is the most disturbing piece, we have a company that trades, two companies that trade on Wall Street, Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. They control $5.2 trillion in home mortgages. They either own or control $5.2 trillion combined in mortgages. Now with that, because Wall Street was feeling a little shaky and they give a lot of money to Mr. Coleman and others in Washington, Democrat and Republican, they've decided that, oh man, we're getting a little nervous here. We need to shore up the markets. We need to be having some investor confidence, not only at home but abroad. And what did they do? They guaranteed that the semi-quasi or quasi-governmental industries, or entities, I should say, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, don't worry about losses. We will guarantee, that's what our federal government said, Mr. Coleman said, we'll guarantee that you'll have money flowing. Up to $5.2 trillion we are on the hook for, because the way the legislation was drafted, they left it open-ended. There was no cap that said, okay, for a year you can get $1 billion. For a year you can get $1 trillion. A heck of a lot of money. No. They left it open-ended. So we will rescue these two Wall Street traded companies. We've guaranteed that up to $5.2 trillion. That's the way the legislation was written. And you'll hear supporters of the bill coming back and saying, oh, well, it's not going to get to that. Ha, ha, ha. Do you trust Wall Street at this point? Look at the financial crisis we're in. Do you trust Washington at this point? I think not, according to the polls, with an 18%, 20% approval rating. Clearly, they can't be trusted without tax dollars. I want to go to Washington to represent the people of Minnesota and stand up and speak truth to power when it's needed. And in this bill, it needed to be talked about, because they've done very little in the sense of shoring up the housing market for everyday hardworking people. Yes, they have a bill in there, up to, and I must stress, up to $3.9 billion to maybe, again, rescue up to 400,000 homes. Now, again, keep in mind, since the beginning of the year, they did absolutely nothing. There are laws in the books now. My plan will articulate that. I'll share that with you in a moment. But since the beginning of the year, since January 1, over 1.7 million homes have been lost to foreclosure while they dragged their feet and did absolutely nothing to help these homeowners. Washington, the White House, and Congress, and my opponent, Mr. Coleman, did nothing while 1.7 million people lost their homes. My plan, very simple. Step one, strong loss mitigation. We control the purse strings. We, the people. This is our tax dollars. And did you know the government uses our tax dollars to shore up the banks? Hundreds of billions of dollars since October 2007. Hundreds of billions of dollars of our tax dollars go to the banks, what's called term auctions. We control that process because it's our money, our tax dollars. And they loan that money to the banks. They let the banks get this money at a very cheap rate. They flow it amongst each other, Wall Street does, and big banks, to make money, basically. They lend money to make money. And those are our tax dollars that are flowing. We have that carrot on a stick called the term auction that could put pressure on the banks and lenders to enter into strong loss mitigation, period. Period. We have the power to do it. Washington will not. I will fight for that when I get to Washington. Step number two, strong enforcement of the FDIC laws. Now, this is the federal government, FDIC, that insures loans around federal entities or banks, federal insurance. They have noted that $1.6 trillion of subprime loans since 2005 were in serious compliance violation. Serious compliance violation, meaning somebody lied basically when they gave these loans to people who wanted to buy homes. Somebody lied in this process, meaning that if that is the case, in fact, the law clearly articulates this. Those loans are expunged, one, period. Two, those loans could be renegotiated amongst the lender and the borrower. Or three, the individual can get a new loan completely, a completely new loan. That's the law. It's on the books now, and Washington has failed to enforce it because why? They're getting money from Wall Street. They won't attack their fundraisers. They won't attack the people who are giving them money for their campaigns. I will speak up to you. I'm not taking money from Wall Street. This candidacy is about the people of Minnesota, period. Not outside sources called Wall Street, not outside sources called lobbyists on K Street in Washington, D.C. No, it's about you, and I'm standing up for you, so that's why I'm speaking truth to power with this plan. Three, the third part of the plan, tweak the bankruptcy law. Clearly, my opponent, Mr. Coleman, supported the bankruptcy law that exists today that allows multimillionaires who may have 20, 30 properties, investment properties, I want to stress, not owner-occupied property, but investment properties. They could bring those homes into bankruptcy court to negotiate to keep those houses. A millionaire who owns a vacation home, a $20 million vacation home in Miami Beach, can bring that $20 million vacation home into bankruptcy court and help save that home in bankruptcy court. They will not let or allow the average hardworking Minnesotan who has an owner-occupied home, who may have been hit with a financial crisis via health care, for example, didn't have health care money, they had a health crisis, ran into problems with the health care bills, thus the whole financial situation crashed upon them. Did you know those individuals cannot bring their owner-occupied home? They paid the rent, the mortgage on time every month. They cannot bring those owner-occupied homes into bankruptcy court. There's something fundamentally wrong with that. My opponent, Mr. Coleman, does not allow that. When he supported the bankruptcy bill that passed in 2005, I will stand up for the people on this bill, on this issue. So the Stanton plan costs the people zero tax dollars. It's a simple enforcement of the law now. We could have saved up to, I guess right now, as the articulation in this legislation says, up to $5.2 trillion. Now, they say that won't happen, but it's still going to be big. Could be on the hook for billions of dollars, hundreds of billions of dollars. We don't know. We just don't know. So the Stanton plan saves people money. The Coleman plan that just passed in Washington will put us on the hook for billions of put us on the book for $800 billion with the debt ceiling rising. It could be trillions. We just don't know. But one thing is for certain. I will fight for you. I will stand up for you in Washington, period. So I'm asking for your support on September 9th. Darryl Stanton for the United States Senate. I need your voice. I need your strength to get this done for the people of Minnesota. Thank you very much. We'll be right back in just a moment.